Hi, I'm Susan from Sunrise Quilt Studio. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I quilted the plants and the water in the Great Blue Heron Slice Quilt. Now, I'm starting with the water lily, and I'm using a medium green thread over the entire lily pad. And I'm quilting in parallel lines in an echo fashion around the lily, and I'm using my hopping foot as a guide for the distance between the stitching lines. Now, the applique piece here is part of the pattern that was sliced through, and it went right through that lily pad, and the two quilters who had pieces of it each chose different values of green for it, so there's a contrast here. And I chose, instead of changing thread colors where the colors of the applique changed, I decided to use a medium green thread to quilt that entire applique piece. Now, there are a lot of different ways to quilt the lily pad, but I felt this one kind of copied what was going on in the sky, kind of repeated that, so I wanted to go ahead and use this echo design. Now, on the grasses, I chose to change thread colors a couple of times, trying to get as close as I could to the colors in each of those grasses. And my goal for the quilting is to help make the grasses look organic, and I did that using a slightly wavy vertical quilting line up and down those grass blades. Now, each blade is quilted just a little bit different. That helps give it a little bit variation, but it's also done that way just because of the way those pieces are appliqued in there and how much space that I had. Now, the trick was to determine which blades of grass were overlaying other blades of grass, and this being a slice quilt, there were areas of it that were a bit of a challenge, and I had to look closely to determine if the seam lines were overlapping grasses or if that's where the quilt pattern had been sliced. For the cattails, I did an outline stitch on the stems, and that's pretty close to the edges of the applique. And for the cattail heads, I took inspiration from the stripe pattern in the fabric and quilted wavy diagonal lines along the pattern in that fabric. And once I got that done, I quilted in the spikes that you often see at the head of a cattail. And I just did that with a couple of passes with the hopping foot, about 4 or 5 times, so that it would stand out. Then I went on to the water, and in the water I followed the pattern that's in that water piece there, and I used some wavy horizontal quilting lines, and I threw in a swirl here and there and where I was following the pattern in the fabric, and I think that added some interest and gave some illusion of movement in the water. Now, this is a batik fabric, and it has some hand-painted areas in it. The purple areas in this fabric were painted with set of color transparent craft paints and heat set with an iron, and that was done to put a little purple in that water. The colored picture of this project, the water was purple and blue, and this quilter only had blue fabric, so she changed the fabric color to match the picture a little bit better. Now, I am stitching in regulated mode for this project, and I am quilting at 11 stitches per inch. So now I'm just finishing up the quilting here and stabilizing the quilt a little bit with my hand. I had the pickup roller up a little bit too high and didn't want to stop and make adjustments. So here I'm going to show some video of the finished quilt, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and thanks for watching.